We're going to talk now about attendance and how we can improve that in the non-league game. We've got the figures from this season. On average, Dulwich Hamlet and Junior there have got an average attendance of just over 1,300. Comes all the way down to Merstham, Dorking and Horley in the couple of hundreds, 130 the average attendance for Dorking Wanderers and just under 100 for Horley Town. When we're talking about attendances, we've talked about the style of football. Does it directly have an impact, the way you try and play? Is there anything more that you can do at this level to try and attract people to games? We're going to talk a little bit about using media shortly. The way in which you play football, does that have a bearing on how many people want to come and watch the game?
You'd like to think so. I think every club is different. Juniors Club have done all sorts of initiatives that have worked, coupled with the fact is that they produce a product on the pitch which is very watchable. People enjoy it, people want to come back and see it, and they've built it up from an average of 130 I think to 1,400. I've been at clubs before such as Carshalton, where if you have a good season it's a bit of a sleeping giant. The supporters will come out of the woodwork. Bromley, they were more fickle. They could go from 1,500 to 300 in the space of 2 or 3 games. Merstham I look upon as a club in its infancy, so it's a club that's still growing at this level. So every year, you know, hopefully because of the profile of the club is growing within the community. You speak about the youth, you speak about the guys who work around the football club are doing a great job with that, and hopefully if people do come through the door and they like what they see, that they'll come back.
What's interesting is that on average non-league teams fill 40% of their potential capacity. So we've got the likes of Junior at Dulwich Hamlet, who had a highest attendance this year of just under 2,500, and yet the average is at 1,300. Yourself at Merstham Hayden, 500 was your highest attendance, 503. The average is at 200. To bridge that gap, if there are that amount of followers, supporters coming to games, the same at Dorking Wanderers, 352 the highest attendance, 131 on average. What do you have to do to bridge that gap? There are the supporters there that want to come and watch certain games. Is it a case of there are just quite a lot of games in a season in non-league football?
I don't know. I haven't got the answer.
Well, I mean, as a point, Dulwich are fantastic. I mean, I as a chairman keep an eye on what Dulwich and a few other clubs across the UK do, but it's quite fragmented now, non-league football, in terms of the amount of teams, the amount of games. I wouldn't imagine, Junior, your biggest attendance, was that on non-league day? But I think it might have been, it certainly would have been one of your largest.
Yeah, last year's non-league day we had 3,000 against Hampton. Today, this last one was against, I think it was Lewis, the second to last home game, or the last home game, I think. So, I mean, sorry to go, I think with our club, I think it's a bit unique. First of all, we've got loads of people behind the scenes that do so much work. I mean, from the academy, we're going into parents and getting youngsters coming to watch the game, and there's people at the club that do all sorts of stuff within the community. We've had all sorts of initiatives at the ground, and I think for us at Dulwich, we've just got kind of a motto is that a lot of clubs are quite strict on paying to get in and whatnot. For us, we've got as I said, normally OAPs, but unemployed people, are allowed to come in for a certain fee, and it's almost a day out now. And I think with the community, a lot of our fans are disillusioned with Premier League football. Yeah. To be honest with you, a lot of them are disillusioned of it because to go to a Premier League game is going to cost you, and with a family, for £100, maybe even more, £150. Now they can go to a local non-league club. It won't cost them £40, £50.
No,
do you know what I mean? They can take their family, and then there's a sense of community. You're more in touch with the game. You can go into the bar, speak to the players, speak to the management, and I think for us, we've really tapped into that, and it's long may it continue. But and I think a lot of clubs really, like Hayden said, if you do get into your community, and it's hard because I mean, and you alluded to it, it's like a volunteering thing, so people got things they need to do, but if people do that and drive it forward in the community, I believe your club can, achieve goals such as that. Yeah. To be fair,
I think a lot of it depends also where your club is as well, doesn't it? Like your club's sort of out the way a little bit, isn't it? And you probably haven't got so much of a community to sort of grab hold of. Yeah. But I mean, for us, I've got to be honest. You said ours was 100. when I was playing a couple of years ago, we was probably 20, 30, and the only reason ours has increased, if I'm going to be honest, is because we've got players that live in Horley playing, and it's the local community that know those lads that are coming along to watch. Absolutely. To get to the next level, without a doubt, you've got to go out into the community and try and get them in. And I'm sure all clubs have done the same thing, offer free entry or a free burger, a free drink. You can only do it for so long because it's all volunteers that are doing it, and you just hope to reap the benefits of it. Obviously, Dulwich have done it in abundance, and it's hopefully it carries on like that. But like Merstham, their attendance was 150-ish. For me, I think that's really low for a club as good as Merstham. The football they play, the standard they're at, you want to be seeing that at 400 or 500 comfortably, every week. It's a shame.
Moving on to the social media side of it, you mentioned that you've got to get out into the community and put these offers on. Obviously, as well, your club Junior very, very prominent on Twitter and Facebook. Yeah. A lot of followers, nearly at 9,000 on Twitter. Yeah. Moved down to Dorking Wanderers, who have 2,500. It's quite a big gap. Is it a case of all the clubs are growing? We've heard you've been in before and talked about your story, and almost 2 promotions in 2 seasons. The clubs just have to grow on social media as well, and that's because that's a big platform at the moment. Yeah,
completely. Actually, we got approached by a sponsor, Salachi, get the name on here, from the city, and they just said, we for some reason, he said, I just followed the club and keep an eye on what's going on. Attendance is a little bit of everything. You mentioned before teams are bringing in, if I was chairman of a club, bringing in umpteen players, intermittently throughout the season, you pretty much know what your attendances will be before you start. People have to have an affiliation with the team they watch. They've got to be going back to watch at least 5 or 6 of the boys from the year before and understand what the club's all about. But absolutely have to have a social media presence. As an example, as a user, met Police in the FA Youth Cup when they played their game at Middlesbrough, had a chat there on Periscope. And it went to penalties, and you can see on Twitter it had gone to penalties, and the guy said watch it on Periscope now, and there was several thousand tuned in to watch the penalty shootout. So I think clubs have to, and Junior made the point about voluntary people. You do need people that are prepared to do it and good at it, but it's imperative to grow the attendances, and if you're not doing it, somebody else will be. And they'll be nicking they'll be engaging with your potential fans.
We certainly at our club have, I think, clocked on the importance of social media to publicising and getting the image and reputation of the club established in our local area. In our club, it's all volunteers, but we've gone to the point just recently of appointing a head of media, press and PR, because we believe it's that important to have a strong social media presence. If you look at a lot of what I would call well-developed ladies' clubs, they are very, very active with their social media campaigns. Twitter and the Twitter feed is something a lot of the clubs, a lot of the players look at. So we're trying to get an extremely high presence on there, because the thing for us, we talked about player recruitment earlier on, I would say for us that's as important as scouting. What you want is players from those different clubs seeing your club having a really high social media presence. You're giving the right messages out, you're getting the right stories out there, and they start to say, hey, that's a club maybe I'd like to come to.
How much at this level do you get involved as managers with social media? So it's obviously massively important. It's such a big thing now. Are you aware of it as a manager? Ant, I'll come to you first. Are you aware of it, of how your club uses it? Is it something that you have to get involved in, or is it solely done by others at the club?
No, I believe we've got 2 people in the club that run the Horley Football Club Twitter account, but I'm on there quite a bit. I follow all these clubs, I believe. Retweet stuff, put as much on there as I can, and hope for as many as your friends to retweet things and obviously message on it. But yeah, it's massive, and without a doubt, we've had a few good things at our club this season. With Ashley Naddison, it's probably made our club a bit more on the map and made people aware of where we are. A lot of people, even live in Horley, probably don't even know that we're there, if I'm being honest. And we try to do sort of open days and this, that, and the other to get the local community in, and sometimes it does just fall flat on its face, unfortunately. But
let's bring Bob in, because a question that we've been covering, the money and where it goes and what's spent. Is social media so powerful now that it's something that perhaps Surrey FA should be running courses on should be putting a bit more emphasis on helping clubs grow their social media?
Well, there was actually a session at St George's Park last year when we had the league annual conference on managing social media and what can be said and what can't be said. That's why we love to see people promoting their clubs on there, but not bringing the game into disrepute on there. And it is monitored. As sure as anything, one bad comment about a referee, if it's derogatory, will find its way back to Leatherhead.
And as far as players are concerned on social media, it's obviously helpful if your players are tweeting things and getting their followers involved to get people down to the game. But do you have to talk to players at all different types of levels about what they can and can't do on social media, or is it something, Hayden, that you don't get involved in so much?
I tend not to. I think you've got to trust your players first and foremost. I'm not on social media. I'm a bit of a dinosaur on these things. But what is for sure is so whilst I don't follow them and whilst I trust them, they are made aware that, you know, the perception of sometimes what they can write on social media, whilst, because I know the individual, I would take with a pinch of salt, some people don't. So there have been occasions where I've spoken to the players because I've been made aware of a comment on social media, which perhaps in hindsight they shouldn't have written. But no, it's not really something that I get too involved in. I do get involved with the promotion of the football club. We had Kevin Austin, who did a really good job as the press officer, who sadly had to step down for personal reasons. Steve and Joe Weeks are now running our social media. They're launching a new website in the next week. And I think that's something as the manager to really support those people, volunteers like you say,
Absolutely.
that are really working hard for the football club. And if I can support them to make their website and to make their Twitter the best one it can be, I think you've got a responsibility to do that.